This is the Voice of the Land podcast with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Nick Paulus.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to another edition of the Voice of the Land podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kevin Arnold. Alongside me, as always, my brother in quarantine, Nick Paulus, and our producer extraordinaire behind the proverbial glass, Peter Tellep. We are partnered with web streaming studio by LPV and NEO Sports Network. And, of course, our sponsor in Season 4, DP Construction LLC. Reach out to them for all your construction needs. Beautiful pictures on their Facebook page at DP Construction LLC of all the projects they've already done, what they're looking to do in the future. You can also reach out to them at 330-217-4999. The phone number again, 330-217-4999, or reach out to Tyler LaFrada by email, tylerlafrada@gmail.com. That's tylerlafratta@gmail.com for all your construction needs. Very honored and humbled to have them as part of the podcast in Season 4. You can always find the podcast on Google, Spotify, and Apple throughout the week as we post the audio. And, of course, get all of our video content, full show podcasts, special clips from the pod, and some of our extra clips we may do from week to week on our YouTube channel at Voice of the Land Podcast. Find us on social media at VTL_pod on Twitter and Instagram, at Voice of the Land on Facebook. Hit that like button there. And, of course, you can always reach out, have sports conversations with us on social media. Find Paulus on Twitter at CLE_Paulus as his dog Rue enters his quarantined position for the podcast this week. He's always got pictures of Rue on social media and the pets on social media as well. And you can find me at Kevin7. Find LPV Productions and and NEO Sports Network on all social media sites as well. This is Season 4, Episode 4 of the podcast for Voice of the Land. Today, we're going to get into some NBA talk. Really looking forward to having some basketball talk here today. Been watching the playoffs. Of course, we just had the draft lottery. Cavs finally have some Cavs news and notes to talk about. Not great, but still have some Cavs basketball to talk about. We are also going to get into Browns training camp news and notes. Injury bug has hit training camp. There's also been some play differential between the offense and the defense early going in training camp. We'll get into any of our concerns as we get through the podcast today. And, of course, the Indians have been playing better of late. Of course, we're recording the day after their 20-game win streak over those vaunted Detroit Tigers last night. But still, they've been playing better baseball, had a great road trip, won 6 games. So we'll get into what we're seeing different just 1 week later in this COVID-19 shortened Major League Baseball season. But before we get into all that, as I said at the beginning, Paulus is in quarantine, a little bit of a different quarantine position. So if you didn't listen last week, didn't watch last week, I'm looking at Paulus through a TV screen where his chair would normally be here in the studio because, of course, Kelly and himself did test positive for COVID-19. Things seem to be getting a little bit better, but Paulus, just kind of give everybody an update where everything stands right now. I know you got a lot of prayers, well wishes, and continued out to you during these times.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that. We are doing a lot better. Kelly, once again, my wife, she is, as Rue pops her head up, she is, she's hanging in there. She's doing a lot better now. She, unfortunately, she got COVID last Friday, tested positive for it, and then over the weekend, it looked to be like she actually ended up with pneumonia-like symptoms as well. So she's been in the hospital from Monday until about Friday afternoon yesterday, and I went and picked her up. I actually tested positive back on Tuesday. My symptoms are nowhere near as bad as hers, but I still have, like upset stomach, fever every once in a while, can't taste anything, can't smell anything. So that's definitely weird. But now I have a double ear infection. So, it just, top on, another piece of crap. So it's, it is one of those things, but we're fighting through it. We're getting a lot better. And once again, thank you to everyone that gave us all the well wishes and everything like that. Truly meant a lot to us.
Yeah, it's been a adventurous year. I know now you guys kind of having personal experience with it. I guess on the bright side, I saw on Twitter today the one Twitter page that has the yearly progress bar. 2020 is 64% done. So,
Yep,
at 64, 65% done. So only 35% more to go
there
to
we
get
go.
to get through this year. I don't even know. I can't really pick out great moments. I mean, the one great moment is kind of finally moving out of the family home and moving in with my girlfriend to our first apartment. I know, you guys are going through some tough stuff right now. I know you guys have had some pretty cool moments for you guys as well. I mean, it's just this is it. 2020. It is what it is. That really is the theme of this year. It is what it is. But I guess the best part is we are getting some sports back as much as there is conversation in college sports and even in some high school sports across the country, whether we will or won't have fall sports, there's still that element that we can at least for a brief time escape what really is going on. It's not that we don't care, and we've talked about that many times on this podcast. It's not that we don't care. It's just we care so much. We do care so much about sports, and we care about what else is going on. And sometimes it just helps the mind and anything you may be going through. It just helps to have that thing you're passionate about to try to escape. And as people get those things back, whether it's sports, music, theater, whatever that may be, that's just can make everybody that much more ready to get back to being the people that we are, the country that we are, and get back on the right track, going in the right direction at all times. So continue prayers out to you guys of the Paulus household for sure during these times. But I know we all know how strong Kelly is, how strong you are. So we know that you guys will be up and raring to go very soon here. So continue to send those well wishes out to them. So like I said, sports have come back, and one thing that has been going on is the NBA bubble, and they've luckily had no positive tests down there in the bubble. MLS was kind of first down there on the Disney, ESPN, Disney Studios down there, the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex down there. And so they've been able to keep going, and the playoffs just started. And the other night, they had the NBA draft lottery. And it's the first thing we've really had with the Cavs. Of course, the draft lottery, you get your percentage chance of ping pong balls in the lottery, and that determines which position you are. No matter how bad you are, you could drop all the way to 7 or 8 or what have you. Cavs 2 years in a row get pick number 5, and we were having a conversation in the group chat. I almost posted something out there, but I was like, let's save this because this conversation is going to be very good on this podcast today. Paulus, I mean, reaction when you saw that they got 5 as soon as that card came out, and just your thoughts on this whole NBA draft lottery process.
I was absolutely furious. Whenever they got pick 5 back-to-back years, both with the top, top percentage to get the number 1 pick. Now, I'm not saying that we should have got the number 1 pick or anything like that. I think that, I understand. I mean, we've been lucky. I think we've hit four number 1 picks, in total. So I mean, we've been extremely lucky whenever it comes to, doing the draft lottery itself. My issue is that whenever you have that top percentage, it gives you anywhere from number 1 to number 6. Like you can't go any lower than 6.
Right.
But we've consistently hit that back-to-back 5 spot, which isn't, historically, is actually a pretty good spot. I mean, I've seen stuff out there where Dwayne Wade was a 5th pick, like Kevin Garnett, Vince Carter, Charles Barkley, Kevin Love. I mean, historically, it's been a solid pick, but we did pick up Darius Garland last year, and he didn't fit the bill.
No.
For that pick, at least not yet. And I don't want to judge, him based off of one crazy COVID shortened season. I think that's pretty. It would be very difficult for me to call him a bust right away. I don't think he has bust qualities. I think that he could be a good player. He just needs to be a little bit more confident shooting, and I think he's going to get there. Um, Maybe, I mean, if you're a number 5 pick, though, I believe you need to be an all-star sort of player.
Yes.
Like, that's the reason why we're drafting you at 5. Top 5 pick should be an all-star player. So I mean, I don't really know who's all going to be available in the crazy shortened COVID year. Not only with basketball, NBA, but with college as well. I typically start taking notice of who is going to be doing really well, during the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my go-to time frame where I'm like, okay, I start visualizing who I want then because I like to see big time players make big time moves, in the tournament. And unfortunately, we didn't even have a tournament this year, so I really couldn't tell you exactly who should go where. I know that a lot of people are talking about that Anthony Edwards kid from Georgia.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be the number 1 pick for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I know Wiseman would be an awesome one, but you already have Andre Drummond. I'm not saying that Andre Drummond's the linchpin here for years to come or anything like that. But I mean, you have Andre there, so you might not need that center. We've always needed forwards since LeBron's, left us. We haven't had a forward that was
Those
worth
wing
a damn.
players.
Right, absolutely. We need those wing players. I'm sick and tired of taking point guards. Like, and I love Colin Sexton. You know me. I love Colin Sexton. But he's a number 2. Yeah, I mean, he's a shooting guard.
Yeah.
We need a number 3, a number 3, 4, like right around there that can shoot from 3. Because that's just the way that the league is working nowadays. I really don't know who that's going to be. I know a lot of people love Obi Toppin, but I mean, he went to college for 4 years and just started showing up his senior year. Can you trust that? I mean, I don't know. The guy's 22 years old. I'm not saying that he's past his prime or anything like that, but if you're going to be drafting a guy that was a senior, like why did it take him so long to develop? I'd like to know that.
Well, and I'd actually started hearing about Obi Toppin the year before because Dayton has had a very good basketball program for a few years now, and Obi Toppin has been part of that. And I'm going to get to Obi Toppin a little bit because I kind of hinted to you guys in the group chat that there's one player that I wouldn't say fully salvages my thoughts about being at 5 again for a second year in a row, but would make me feel a bit better and maybe not the quintessential choice for what people feel like the Cavs really need and maybe undersized. But I'm going to get to Obi Toppin in a second. But Peter, I mean, I'm not sure if you got a chance to see the draft lottery at all or just kind of once you heard the news come out that they did get the 5th pick for a second year in a row and they had top percentage chance, one of the 3 top percentage chances to get the number 1 pick or at least a top 3 pick, whereas there's really only 3 players being talked about in this draft. What was your reaction to it?
Honestly, I was disappointed to hear that they got 5. I mean, we were blessed, I think, in the past where we did get some of those, the ball bounced the right way for us. And, like you said, 2020, it is what it is. So we'll see what the Cavs can do. And, hopefully they turn that situation into a good pick or do something to make the team better because, as much as I still have some mixed feelings about LeBron with the league leaving and coming back and leaving again, like I said, at least he got us the ring. I do enjoy. I'm not a huge basketball fan. I said that before, but when you see him get into the playoffs, when you see him get into the finals, I'm kind of a bandwagon fan with the NBA, but it's exciting, and that excitement, is really fun. I'd like to see that again. We'll see what happens. I'm hopeful, but cautiously.
Yeah, and the playoffs are a whole nother level, especially when fans can actually be in these arenas. I mean, there's so many, even smaller market teams that do such a great job. I mean, besides the Cavs and kind of always having that playoff motto and just the way that they put on their production in the arena, one team that I always liked watching was Oklahoma City because of the way that the fans in that arena and the way the fans rallied around that team. And just, you'd see one section full of, people wearing a blue shirt, and then the other section having the orange shirt. Then it was kind of like split across where they all were wearing the same colored shirt. And it was just that scene, whether it was the Q or Romo Fijo, whatever you want to call it, the gun, whatever. Just those scenes in the playoff atmospheres in some of these fan bases. That's one big thing that we miss, and I know that some of the players do miss that. Like, they feed off that energy, and you're seeing that kind of play out here in the playoffs. In terms of this lottery, and I know people are going to come at me saying, well, you've gotten the number one pick so many times. You got LeBron. You got your ring. You got the number one pick from time to time. I just think the whole NBA draft lottery thing is just dumb. I get that they want to prevent against,
tanking,
against tanking, things like that. But if the worst teams keep dropping in this draft, unless it's a team like Golden State that they're going to want to protect, they didn't let them. I think there are some funny things that go on. Like, I think we've even gotten some luck our way in Cleveland for that draft lottery. Like, I don't know how legit it is. Like, and I'm saying that the Cavs didn't get legit.
Asked,
what?
Right. Everyone asked, do you think that it's rigged or not?
I do. I do think it's rigged, and I think we've gotten it rigged in our favor. And that's all well and good. It's, you feel great when you get it, and when you don't, you feel lousy like we do right now. I just think that the whole thing is just ridiculous. Again, I get the whole tanking argument, but if your worst teams can't get, don't have an opportunity at top talent to try to quickly improve, to add talent on their team and build through the draft, then they're going to keep playing bad anyways. They're going to be bad anyways because they
can't get better.
They can't get better. There is no opportunity to get better. So it's not tanking. It's just they don't have enough talent. There's a difference in what I see in teams tanking where they're not trying to lose. They just don't have the talent to beat the best teams. Like, they're going to play well in a game. I want to see we've seen it from the Cavs periodically, and something they're trying to build, a culture where you're putting forth maximum effort, building chemistry as a team, working together. So no matter if you're facing the best team in the league or the worst team in the league, you are playing at the same high energy level. And when you play those top teams that are going to be playoff teams, at the end of the game, you just don't have enough players to make those 1 to 2 plays that are going to be crucial to win the game. It's not anything against the team. They're trying to build a winning culture, but in order to build a winning culture, you have to build a successful culture. You have to build a consistent team philosophy, team mindset of who you're going to be. Are you going to be a run and gun team? Are you going to be strong in the defensive end? Are you going to be a team that tries to go back to the old style of working the ball inside? Are you going to play small ball like the Houston Rockets are doing? They don't have big guys on their team. Everybody's saying that the Cavs need a center. They need a young center on this team. Houston Rockets, they got great talent in these small guard spots, but they're doing it and they're finding success with it. So it's not about what size, and basketball is positionless basketball, people. Wake up. 1 through 5, that doesn't matter anymore in the NBA. Yeah, you got to have length, you got to have size to get those defensive stops or have that 4 to 5 minute defensive stretch in a ball game to win it. But you don't have to have, it's not like you got the Shaqs of the world or, like Bill Russell, where you throw it in the post, you work the ball around, and you're clanging and banging in the post and things like that. No, the ball is being spread around the perimeter. So this whole notion of this draft lottery, your bad teams can't get better, especially in small markets, if they don't have a chance to take a player. Now, in terms of this 5th pick, the reason why I'm frustrated being at 5 isn't because I don't think that you can find someone at 5 to be successful and be an all-star. It's because there's not enough talent to pick from in this draft and in a lot of NBA drafts now. With this whole one-and-done rule, instead of guys coming out from high school and then you have the college group, none of these players are being developed. There is no development because even a guy that was highly touted goes to Duke, goes to North Carolina, goes to these top NCAA programs, and you know they're going to be one and done. If their team doesn't have much success, like North Carolina wasn't having a great year this year. But some of their freshmen, or if it's Kentucky and they don't have a Kentucky standard year, their freshmen are still going to go to the NBA because they believe in their talent. They just think that they weren't coached right, or it was the system. They're going to put blame there. They think they're still the best in the world, so they're going to put themselves in the NBA draft. Well, they weren't developed to be ready to play in the NBA. And it's not that I have a problem with well, I guess I do have a problem with one and done. And it's not because I think that these players can't make it in the NBA being young. But at this point, either sink or swim going from high school to NBA, allow that to happen, and the guys that want to go and actually learn the game, develop their skills, and go for a couple years, got to stay at least a couple years in college. Football players, you got to build your body up in the NCAA. You can't go until you've been 3 years out of high school. And that's because of the physical demand of the game of football. Yeah, basketball's not as physically demanding as football, but you still need to, if you're going to go and try to go from one level to the next and take it step by step, you need to be there and allow it to actually take hold and understand it, because it takes your freshman year to understand what it means to win in college versus what it meant to win in high school. Then by your sophomore year, you have that understanding, and then you can take it from there, and you can take that next big step. Just like in the NBA, some rookies don't have as big an impact. Colin Sexton did not have as big an impact his rookie year. He started to develop as the year went on, though, and he took another step forward in his sophomore season in the NBA because he understood what it meant and what he had to do with his body and his skills in the offseason to be successful.
And I 100% agree with you on that. The way that I look at the one and done rule is that I don't like the one and done rule as it is either. The way that I look at it is I love the baseball rule. The baseball rule is if you think that you're good enough in high school to go straight to the pros, basically go to the minors and do all that sort of stuff, you can do that. You can get drafted in high school. And you're more than welcome to. However, if you commit to college, you commit for 3 years. And it is a minimum 3-year commitment to a college at that point in time. I love that rule because I think it does give the option for the best of the best high school players, the Dwight Howards, the LeBron Jameses. I mean, you're not going to find those sort of players anymore. And if you do, it is the rarest of rare occasions, obviously. But if you are that good, then yeah, go right ahead. Go to the draft. But if you think that you need a couple of years in order to right your body or anything like that, go to college. Go to college for 3 years, because I think that you tend to see more of an output, after a certain point in time. I think it would help out college basketball in general. I mean, look at the 80s and 90s, NCAA teams, like the Dukes of the 90s. They just held on to players for years, and they just kept building them up. I mean, you can see that with a lot of those players back in the day. I would love it if they went to the baseball system and gave players the option, because if you're 18 years old, if you feel like you're good enough to go to the NBA and get drafted, great. If you don't get drafted, that's going to suck. Yeah. But I think that there's going to be a lot of players out there that would go, you know what? I need to go to college. I need to do this. And if you don't want to go to college, then you can ultimately go to, one of the European leagues or across seas and make money there. I think it's a little tougher to do that. But I mean, it is something to look into. But yeah, I would love to see, the NCAA and NBA try and work out something to that effect, because I think the one and done rule is going to be getting cast aside here relatively soon, I believe.
Yeah, again, if they have the opportunity to go in high school, like you said, let them go. And if they're going to commit to college, they need to commit to that, or if they're going to open up this G League element more, where these guys can go pro and basically the NBA version, or what they're trying to tout as the NBA version of a minor league system, where guys understand and they understand what it means to be a professional. That's what minor league baseball helps with these players to do, because you're playing in a professional setting, and that's what some of these players in Major League Baseball organizations this year are going to miss out on. The ones that aren't good enough to even be called up, like on the verge of being called up and being added to these Major League Baseball rosters, those guys aren't getting the opportunity to develop their skills the way the minors are set up to do. And not just skills, but understanding of what it means to be a professional and to play for a professional organization and play sports as your job. And when you're put on the map and given more airtime, more media exposure out there in the world, understand what it takes to really present yourself and show who you are and what you can add to a team. So the G League is what the NBA wants that to be. I don't think they've found the right method for that yet. But if these guys are going to go to college instead of coming out from high school, they need to be there for at least 2 years, if not 3, and just make it consistent across the main sports. Football is 3 years. Paulus just talked about baseball is 3 years. And basketball is 1, and then there's also no consistency in NCAA programs either. Yeah, the best of the best are going to get the best players, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be the best team every single year, though, either.
You know, that makes me think that what you're talking about is with basketball, just the fundamental differences between basketball, football, baseball is, baseball, football, I think you can have standout players, but you have, it's more of a team sport. Where in basketball, I think you can have some of, like, especially these high school kids where they may have raw talent, but they're not coachable. And
Right.
their teams do well because they have raw talent. And I hate to say, like, when LeBron was with Cleveland, we saw how much he carried the team,
Yes.
how much he brought that team together, and how much he did. And you get, it's more of an individual. I think there's more of an individual focus in basketball, and the one and done rule just adds to that issue.
Yeah.
Is that you got a standout player in high school. He's rolling, he's carrying the team. He's rolling over players that, they have no chance of ever playing professional or college level ball. Some of these kids, he's great. He goes to a college. He's not coachable. He's there for the 1 year.
Yep.
To just get it out of the way, and that's a crappy attitude to have. And how do you get through to someone like that? They get into the NBA, and you see some of the attitudes of some of the players in the NBA. It's like, yeah, they're a great player, but man, like, I wouldn't want to hang out with this person. Yeah, they're great athletes, but they're not coachable.
If they get a championship, though.
What's it?
If they can win you a championship, though, that's all that matters.
That's true. I mean, that's true. Well, that gets into a whole other conversation about money and everything else. We could talk about everything that's wrong with sports too, right there. But
Right. And if a player isn't going to be receptive to coaching at all, there's only certain exceptions. I mean, LeBron has been, we don't know for a fact that he's not coachable, but it's been claimed that, and there's been some questionable things that he does, or the way he presents himself at times, that makes it seem like he's not coachable. But we know you can win a championship with LeBron.
right.
There's a coachable element to LeBron, though, if he's going to be able to win you a championship. If a player is not coachable at all, they're not going to do anything for you, because they're going to be out there to get theirs, just like Blake Snow. Not to go back to that, but
right.
But just like guys, they're just out there to get theirs, and there's no team chemistry. They're just out there to get those clips, those highlight reels on YouTube, on Twitter, that you see, like these big dunks, or that one-handed catch, or something like that. They get that. They use that as their recruiting tool, or their push to being, if they can go from high school to NBA, like that's their big push. But if they're not coachable, it's going to be sink or swim.
Right.
And if you're not going to take to the coaching, if you're not going to listen to who's in charge, you're not going to be successful for very long. You're going to have those brief moments, those brief highlights that can be put out there, but you're not going to have the successful career that you just assume and have been told and have been
kind of groomed for. I mean,
groomed for. Yeah,
the thing is, you get to the NBA, you get to that level, the talent level across the board,
right,
is so elevated.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same with the NFL. You get guys that they're great in high school, they're great in college. They get to the NFL and they fizzle. It's because all of a sudden now you're playing against not just the last couple years of the best of the high school kids that are now in college. You're playing against the best of the college kids that made it to the NFL. I mean, it's a much more concentrated level of talent, and you really get to see. I think great coaching can take decent talent and make it great.
Right.
But if you've got great talent and they're not going to be, if they're not coachable, it doesn't matter what you do because, like you said, they're out there for themselves, and you see that. That's what go into the Browns. Jarvis Landry, love him because you can see that he is willing to put the team ahead of himself. And there's that's great. And hopefully Odell, he seems to be of that mindset, and hopefully it's the truth because I'm getting excited for football.
Right.
I know we're talking about basketball. Man,
I
know.
I'm
getting excited for football. So
and we're getting there we're getting there in one moment here. But you bring up a great point though, is that the concentration of talent becomes much more focused each level you get to. And so it's a lot harder to go against guys that have that same kind of talent if you're not willing to put in the work or sacrifice to the team and buy into what they're doing, and you're just trying to go out there for you, and you're not listening to anything that may help you have that slight advantage over someone that may be at the same exact skill level as you. You're not listening to that new tip, that new piece of advice, that new coaching tool or coaching tip that can give you that slight advantage. And that's why you see teams in the NFL or in the NBA have much more sustained success, because as much as they have talented players that are marketable, that you see out there on TV and on Twitter and on YouTube all the time, they have bought into what the team is trying to do, and they have found a way to put their high-level skill set into that system, and the system has found a way to implement them in as well. It's a balancing act, and they've listened to the coaching, they've listened to what they're trying to do, and they're buying in because they want success. They say they want to win championships. They act on it. There's other people that say they want to win championships, and they never act on it, and that's why they don't have success. In this draft, I think the NCAA tournament, the only good thing about the NCAA tournament is the one and done rule, because you get some of these low-level teams or the mid-major teams that have success. They go a little bit further. The Cinderella stories go a little bit longer in the NCAA tournament because you have these senior-laden teams that have actually bought into program and coaching, and they've had success like Dayton, and they go up against a big school like Duke, and they have a lot more success against those schools because they've bought in. So that's the big thing that we miss for the NCAA tournament, and these NBA teams having more of that film of the guys that actually stand out there. But really, the top three guys in this draft are going to be Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, and who only didn't get to play this year because he got help moving, I guess. NCAA is corrupt, and they don't like anybody helping you at all. And then LaMelo Ball, and we know the Ball family, that's a whole nother conversation in itself. I'm just going to tell you right now, I covered high school basketball when LaMelo was at Spire Academy, and he was playing against these big programs here in Northeast Ohio and covering some of those tournament games. And even when they were in big showcases where there was nationally ranked teams there, I'm telling you right now, he looks like he's bought into the game and not just bought into the Ball hype and what him being able to be out there on YouTube and things like that. He looks like a lot better than any one of his other two brothers. I'm just telling you that right now. I can't stand the LeVar and everything that goes on with that. Don't be shocked if LaMelo Ball is a top player in this league because I think he's bought in. If he doesn't stay bought in and he buys into the Ball family hype or what he's been, the celebrity he's been given by that, he will not. So if he continues to stay bought in, he will have success in the NBA. For me, the one player that may salvage it, and I teased this earlier, it is Obi Toppin, because I just see a guy that, you know, has built his way and has scratched and clawed to get to this point, and that's going to continue to do so and is going to have success in this league. Maybe not a Hall of Famer, maybe not a superstar, but I could see him having that underrated all-star ability, or just not being able to have success at all just because of the program he came from. Like, I can see it, unfortunately, going one extreme or the other, not really like anywhere, just in between. And you don't really want a role player either at the 5th pick. Paulus, is there one guy that you've kind of heard about that you want? You want that Denny Advia from Israel? Or?
Yeah. You know, they were comparing him to Gordon Hayward. I mean, would you take that?
I would take Gordon Hayward as long as stays healthy, because unfortunately Gordon Hayward is just, you know, especially once he got injury prone, and you know, it was freak injury his first game with Boston when he moved there, when he went over to the Celtics, but he's also hurt now, and he's not going to be able to play the rest of the playoffs with the Boston Celtics, and that will be a big loss for them moving forward.
And I don't know if I would. I mean, I don't know if I would take that.
Right.
You know, like if the 5th pick, I think that you got to be better than that. You know, but I mean, that's just me. I really don't know most of these players, once again, because of the NCAA. You know, not doing the NCAA bracket. I mean, you know, we're in unfamiliar grounds right now, and I don't know a whole lot of the European players or anything like that. If you told me that kid was Luka, I'd be like, yes, sign me up all day. You know, I'd be totally down for that. But I don't think that there's a player in this year's draft that you look at and you go, oh yeah, no, he's going to be an all-star for years to come. He's going to be, you know, the one guy that gets you back to the playoffs. Is going to compete for the number 1, number 2 seed in your conference. We don't have a player like that coming out this year. At least it doesn't look like.
Yeah. And I mean, Luka's been balling out of his mind. Dame Lillard's been balling out of his mind in the bubble. I mean, the big thing I miss from the NCAA tournament, and we'll go on to football from here, is that those first 2 days where you have games starting at noon and the last one doesn't end until after midnight. And you got 4 different channels going on. If you're lucky enough to have enough money to have 4 different TVs or 4 different devices where you can be watching CBS, TNT, TBS, True TV all at the same time, so you got all the games going on. But I mean, those are the moments I miss, and I thought that was kind of what we were going to get somewhat from the first 2 days of this NBA bubble playoffs, where they started at 1:30 and didn't end until after midnight. No, because there's only one game, and then it's another game, and then it's another game, and it's another game. It's not 4 games in this time slot, 4 games here, and so on. But I have enjoyed some of the bubble playoffs, and the one series really to watch is the Lakers and the Blazers, because that is a 1-8 seed that is not a traditional 1-8 seed matchup in the NBA playoffs. So as the playoffs go on, we'll kind of get into that more in the future. But Paulus is there in his house, dressed in his head to toe in his Browns attire, and the Browns did start training camp, and Peter's very excited about that. And we talked about the comparison from basketball to football, but we also talked about injuries and the injury issues of players that may affect their careers, things like that. Browns are dealing with a lot of injuries right now. And that's basically the story of training camp. That's really the only thing that's there. You can also look at all the beat reporters talking about Baker not looking great, the offense looking lost. It's their first week together. Like, they haven't even had OTAs where they've been able to walk through some of these offensive plays, like this whole new system, and a whole new system in 4 systems in 3 years, something like that.
Yep.
Are you concerned, Paulus, about what you're hearing coming out of Browns training camp? And if so, what concerns you the most?
No, absolutely not. I knew that this offense was going to take a while. The first probably 4 games of the year, it's going to be painful. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. And thankfully, our first 4 games, we end up, obviously our first game of the year is against the Ravens. Our second game of the year is against the Bengals, That's at home. Honestly, it doesn't matter home or away because there's not going to be any fans. So, there's not going to be a home field advantage or anything like that. It really is going to be the best team wins. But we play the Ravens, the Bengals, Washington, and then the Cowboys. Those first 4 games, it's going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be rough, and we should be at least 2-2.
Yes.
During those first 4 games. But the way that the offense is set up, it is a much easier. It's a much easier system that Baker's probably ever been in because it is a play action sort of system. We base everything on the runs. So, and our offensive line is a lot better. So, if our offensive line and our running backs are on the same page, we should be okay. The passing game will come around. I truly believe Baker is a very good quarterback. I don't know if he's your franchise or anything like that, but I think he's a very good quarterback who is very smart and will get the ball out on time. But it is timing routes and everything like that. It's going to take a little bit of time. We haven't had any preseason training camp, anything like that up until a week ago. So, for everyone to think like, oh yeah, no, let's just implement this offense and we're going to be good to go by the Ravens. The fact that we don't have any preseason games to test out this offense does definitely suck. And I really wish that we had at least 1 or 2 preseason games because I think that you would be able to work out the kinks a little bit better. I also think that the way that the offense is sort of struggling, I think that that's a good sign for the defense because I think that the defense is coming along together and they are finally getting some of their secondary issues are coming into play. Like they're coming together with the secondary backfield back there. I know Denzel Ward's had a couple of picks. I know Kevin Johnson before the injury was, he was primed to be the second corner on the team. So that does worry me about Greedy because you and I have talked about it. I thought Greedy was going to be our number 2 corner, coming into this year. And it doesn't look like he's doing that right now. But now that Kevin Johnson is down, someone has to step up.
Yep.
So I'm hoping Greedy does. But we have Carl Joseph back there. We have Grant Delpit, apparently is having a decent camp. It's our linebackers right now that worry me the most of anything. I know Miles hasn't played, but I think that they're just being preventative for that. So the defensive line doesn't bother me, but it's our linebacker help. It's our linebacker room. Whenever Mac went down, that's whenever it got pretty hairy. Because he is one of I think 2 linebackers, like B.J. Goodson, is the only other linebacker that had played more than 20% of the snaps for their team last year, and that is a very big concern. So we definitely need to bring in somebody. I'm not saying that like a lot of people are saying, bring in Clay Matthews Jr. Clay Matthews III. Bring him in. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you need him, like a big name like that. We just need someone to fill the gap right now.
Right.
Because I think that if you do start off on a good pace, even the 2-2, 3-2, mindset right there, I think by if all indications are true, and he needs to be out 6 to 8 weeks, if you let him rest that whole 8 weeks and he comes back 100% healthy at that point in time, you're going to be playing against the Steelers. So I think that would be a great time to get Mac back out there, against the Steelers and basically have him the rest of the year. I think that would be awesome. So we need to find someone to fill in for his shoes. Maybe it's Taki. I don't know. But I would love to have someone out there step up big time and then, just have our defensive mindset ready.
Peter, what has you so excited, as you said, but also what has you concerned?
Well, I'm just excited for football in general. I mean, what we talked about, the last couple of weeks, the Big Ten and the cancellation of the season. So I'm looking forward to Browns football.
Yeah.
I'm I'm excited about what I feel is going to be an actual offense that has a plan.
Right.
But I feel much better now after we saw what happened with bumbling Freddie Kitchens. And
You
so
should have copyrighted that, Paul.
right,
because
make T-shirts, right?
yeah.
But so I'm excited to see what happens. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about the reports that the offense isn't gelling and that Baker, isn't looking great right now. And obviously, any injuries are going to be top of mind because it's that weird thing where we don't have the preseason, we have camp, everything's running late. Guys are, if you go too hard, you don't want to hurt someone because you're going too hard in practice. You don't want to have someone get hurt because they're trying to pull up in practice and not give it their all. It's that fine line that you're trying to walk. It's like you're trying to get prepared because when the first game rolls around, everyone's going to be going 100%. And God willing, we're ready for that. And yeah, it's opening up against the Ravens. It's not going to be easy. But we've stung them in the past, so I'm kind of excited. I'm hopeful. Probably getting my hopes up a little too high. That we're gonna come out and shock them. But who knows? So, but I'm excited to see football. And I mentioned before the podcast started, I'm excited because next Friday we're gonna be doing a football game for high school, live streaming. So. We'll see how that goes too, because right now it's been a whole couple months of everything up in the air and no one knowing what's going on, trying to prepare for every eventuality, and it's very difficult. But I'm excited to see what happens here.
Yeah, NEO Sports Network, LPV Productions as well, right, Peter? Involved with that, or just NEO Sports?
It's NEO Sports, and we're going to be going through. We're working with this Sugar Valley Conference, so it's going to be CVC TV. And here we got to take this shot real quick here. Look, Rue is excited.
Yeah,
Rue wants to play.
Yeah, look at that already. So, but yeah,
she's a good girl.
we're gonna be doing. It's gonna be West Chi at Lakeside is the game that we're slated to be live streaming on Friday. So,
I'm gonna have to look straight into the camera right now because having the TV screen with Rue right there. As much as I want to look at Rue, she's all taken over. Paul's spot on the podcast right now.
Yeah.
But I'll just let everybody know that NEO, if you guys find NEO Sports Network and it'll be live stream on YouTube, you may hear some familiar voices on the call of these games moving forward. Some voices you may recognize that moving forward there. So make sure to tune in if you're not one of the family members that can go to the games. If you're kind of, unfortunately, there's going to be a reduction on how many fans can be in the stands. Take advantage of these live streams that a lot of these networks are doing, especially NEO Sports Network, because CVC, that is a great conference here in Northeast Ohio, and it's expanded, and there's going to be a lot of great football this year in a short season.
Support your high school teams because it's really,
Absolutely.
that's the thing. The boosters. All the boosters they're losing money because they're not going to have concessions. They're not going to have the gate sales. I mean, that's one of the reasons we don't normally live stream Friday Night Football because it's a huge moneymaker for the schools and for their sports programs. So,
try to get people to actually go to the game and see it live. But,
so,
since they can't, this year is going to be big for
support
live
them. And if you can, reach out to your local boosters and give them some money. I mean, it's... They're scrambling right now trying to figure out ways so you can see the game, so do what you can to support your community. So
yeah, absolutely. Support your local Northeast Ohio, or even if you're listening and you're outside of Ohio, you're a Cleveland fan, but you're outside of that market and you're kind of in the same boat in another state, another area of the state of Ohio, make sure to get out or try to support any way that you can virtually or money-wise there to your local high school and amateur athletics there in your area. Love that high school football is giving it a go and able to come back because we love that here in the city, but also love that here in the state, but also just fall sports in general. We went out to a high school soccer game last night, and we stood as far away from the fence as we could, but tried to see as much as we could last night, just because, you guys know me with soccer, and my Wycliffe soccer programs, I can't stay away.
Right.
I can't. I told them that I was going to follow the rules. I wasn't going to even come to games or anything like that. You can go up to the fence. You can kind of it's being as far away as possible, wearing your mask, things like that. There are still things you can do to kind of go to the game. And it's not that I'm going to try to donate too, because if I'm going to go watch a game, I would usually pay $6 to go to the game. If I'm going to get to see these games still, I should be donating something to the program. And that should be for everybody else too. If you're going to go and try to watch from a distance, try to do that. Or watch live streams, still donate to your programs. Love that that's all going on. Love that the Browns are in NFL is coming back and they got training camp going on. And you guys mentioned it's the injuries. It is the injuries. And it's because you see that around the league right now. And it's because these guys are so used to an off-season program starting in April and doing these walkthroughs, doing these OTAs, getting their body ready for football shape. They've been getting their body in shape just in general in the off-season before they can come to the facility. Then you start working on building that body and transitioning it into taking the hits, getting back into football shape. Then you get all the way through your mini camp. You take that 6-week break. You're ready to go. You know exactly what you need to do to keep your body in that football shape for those 6 weeks. You come back raring to go for training camp, and you're in a much better position. This year, training camp is involving all those April workouts, all those May and June mini camps, and training camp, and preseason football all at the same time. So there is an emphasis for some guys to try to go out there and go right away, but you're only going against yourselves, and those unfortunate accidents may happen. Or you may go too hard and you cause yourself an injury because the body's just not ready yet. You're ready. You're mentally ready. The body is not. And you're trying to ramp that up in a very short amount of time. And we may see rough football in the beginning for a lot of people. And just for everybody wearing those brown and orange glasses and buying into the deep ball from Baker to Odell and double coverage, things like that. Temper expectations at the beginning of the year. Allow this coaching staff to try to develop these players. This is going to be the best year to see if this coaching staff it can develop unlike any other coaching staff in the past because of all of the circumstances. And if they can, you know that we have something really going in the right direction. And I know that people are saying that in terms of Mack Wilson and the linebacking core is one of the biggest concerns on this team being so thin. Yes, people are saying Clay Matthews III because of the lineage and the connection to Cleveland. I would take Clay Matthews III because while he is a big name, at the point of his career, I think he would do a lot of good on this team and be ready to be a leader as well and help the young guys develop and be just a key piece and not have to be that main guy anymore either. Whether he would have that mindset or not, I think he can. I think I've heard the name Alec Ogletree as well. They do need depth for this linebacking core, so they need to bring other guys in, even if young guys step up. Because if you only have 3 linebackers on your team, one goes down, now you got nobody.
Yeah.
Now you have nobody. So they are going to have to look at that. In terms of offense versus defense, of course the defense always starts out in front of the offense as it is anyways. But especially with this offense that hasn't had any time to even look at these new plays, and they've been doing so many different plays over the last 3 seasons, this was to be expected. I'm not giving them a pass. I'm not making excuses. But this was to be expected. If you keep seeing this and it stays that way the whole time, then there's an issue with the coaching and the players not executing on what they need to because they're not learning from a mistake the day before to the next day, and they're not building that chemistry, and there's a disconnect between all the players and the coaches, and that is a big problem. So if it keeps continuing, just becomes a bigger problem. If it goes from 1 week and improves a little bit week to week, then you know it's just learning a new system, trying to ramp a whole off-season program into 4 weeks. You okay over there, Paulus? I mean, I'm keeping like a side eye over here to try to look like I'm interacting with you, but it's like I don't. Rue is so cute, and it's so distracting in a good way.
Rue is definitely taking over the podcast as we speak.
Rue, what do you think about the Browns? Yeah, I agree, Rue. Baker does need to step up this season. You guys didn't realize I speak dog, so just one of those skills behind the scenes there. I speak dog, but speaking of Browns or Cleveland teams, of course, we did mention we were going to talk about the Indians, and you could break things down day to day, week to week with baseball, even in a shortened season. Like, it just feels like things just change in an instant. And we saw the Indians change in an instant over last week, and it was basically the whole road trip. They went 6-0. I know they lost to the Tigers in the first game of the series. We'll see how they do tonight. We are recording on Saturday, the 22nd, but seems like they really came together after that team meeting with Plesac, Clev, drive out to Detroit. They have that team meeting. They're forced to go back to Lake County. With this success the team is having without them, Plutko didn't look great as a starter last night. Plutko, sorry. Plutko didn't look great as a starter last week. We know that's why he's kind of been in the bullpen to have that long arm success. But do you see either one of Clev or Plesac being traded as we get closer to that trade deadline at the end of the month? Paulus?
I think that they don't have enough invested in Clevenger. I think that he could go. He's the bigger piece of the bunch. I think Plesac he's still a pretty young guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they're going to try and plan on, holding on to him, try and mold him into being a better person overall than a better player. But I think Clevenger has that bigger ticket item.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they are going to try and move Clev. But moving both of them, I don't think that that's going to happen.
Peter?
I think that I'm not sure who they're going to move, but I think they're going to move someone. I think it's inevitable. They kind of need to make a statement, I think, with it. And, as much as I like Clevenger, he seems like he's always been this good guy, with the community and doing stuff. It's just not, it wasn't what he did sucked. I mean, I don't know a better way to put it. So I think they're going to probably trade. I would think they're going to trade Clevenger, would be my guess.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in agreement. If it's going to be, if they do trade one of them, see, I don't know that they do. And I know Chris Antonetti's been coming out and talking about, even talked yesterday, and thoughts and prayers out to Tito Francona as well. He just had a procedure, not able to manage the team this weekend either. Still struggling there. And Rue is sending out her prayers as well in the background of the podcast. She's going to become the new face of Voice of the Land there here in a second. But I know that's a difficult thing for the organization to deal with. But Antonetti also talked about how they're going to keep reassessing this. They don't know if these guys are going to be back within a week or not. He was asked that question, so that makes you think maybe they're still kind of thinking about doing it. I don't know that they do, but if they do, Clev would be the guy, and I also think Clevenger more of a proven commodity as a starter. I think you can get more for him than maybe Plesac. Plesac, you've seen success, but not sustained success enough for what the Indians would be looking for, and that's a little bit more pop to extend this lineup is probably what they would be looking for if they were to trade a starter. If you're trading a starting pitcher, you better be getting somebody that can not just help you in the future, but help you now as well. Whether it's a 60-game, 162-game, 10-game season, you got to get somebody that's going to help you at that point, rather than not just in a minor league type system where you're selling, and building up your farm system again. That's not what this move would be for. It's sending a message and helping your team try to have the success that this team is preaching that they want to have this season. So I think we're all in agreement. Clevenger would be that guy if they do trade. By the trade deadline, is Clevenger on this team, Paulus?
No, I think he is gone.
Is Plesac on this team?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes,
trade.
Plesac will be on this team.
Okay. Peter, Clevenger, is he on the team by after the trade deadline?
Oh, I don't know.
If you had to give one answer, yes or no, today.
I think he's still on the team.
Plesac?
I think they're both still on the team.
I think they're still both on the team after the trade deadline. If you had to ask me today, I think they're both on the team. Who do we got now, Paulus? Who wants to come to the end of the podcast?
This is Oscar.
Oscar,
he's a little fat kitty. So he says, "Hi."
Hey,
This is Oscar the Grouch. I found him in trash.
Oh,
And,
literally Oscar the
yeah,
Grouch.
Oscar the Grouch. I found him in trash. He, what was he? Found him on East. What was that? East 125th and Buckeye. Whenever I was
Okay.
working landscaping duty, I knocked over. I heard a little meow, 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 and he was about 2 weeks old. Ow! he,
He really is the Grouch.
oh yeah, no, he's a feisty little guy, that's for sure. But I found him on East 125th and Buckeye, and he is he's just a mean little kitty. That's all he is. But Kelly absolutely adores him and loves him.
Well, Oscar the Kitty has more bite in him than Oscar Mercado does at the plate. So
That's true. Very true.
that's how we'll end this podcast this week. But so that is going to wrap it up for this edition, Season 4, Episode 4 of the Voice of the Land podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed getting to meet Paulus's animals around the house as well. They're going to be, like I said, they're going to become the new face of the podcast. Paulus and I are going to be pushed to the side. Peter's going to bring Rue and Oscar in for VTO because they got better takes than we do, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But for Nick Paulus and our producer extraordinaire, Peter Tellep, I am Kevin Arnold, letting you guys all know, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game. Reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts on the podcast on social media. And as always, to all our frontline workers, those battling COVID-19, and anyone out there that is struggling any way, any shape or form, or anybody that just listens to this podcast, we love you all 3,000. Thank you so much, and we will see you all next week.